What's going on, people? Welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. We got our first signing through the door yesterday. Potentially could be another announcement today with Sousa apparently doing the last bits of his medical today. I'm not sure.
Late Christmas presents.
Yeah, well,
Is it enough?
We need late Christmas presents for the last 25 years. So we need about 25 signings this summer. But yeah, look, we got a lot to get our teeth bitten into today, and we're going to get into a Tottenham update later, as obviously you can see the title of the stream, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritties of all of that. But welcome. Good to have you all here today. And first up, we've got a special guest to bring to you to give us the feeling with inside Madrid of the lowdown of Conor Gallagher. Obviously, Spurs signed Conor Gallagher yesterday for 40 million euros. And we have got Charlie Porro, Atleti Madrid season ticket holder, to give us his thoughts regarding the situation with inside Madrid. Charlie, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hi, thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Thanks for taking your time to come on today. So obviously Spurs and Atleti have done some business in the past. Obviously the last player I think we bought off you worked out pretty well for us, Toby Alderweireld. And I think the last player we actually sold you directly was Kieran Trippier, which obviously didn't work out too badly for you as well. Are we going to have the same with Conor Gallagher?
Oh, I expect it. I think this is a really good trade for us. I think it's a really good trade for you also. So I think this is a really good market move.
Why do you think Atletico are so keen to get rid of Conor Gallagher? Why do you think they don't want to keep him?
Oh, I don't think maybe that's not the question. I think Atletico, maybe he wants it, but I don't think he's gonna fit really good in our lineup. I think Simeone prefers more than a 6 than an 8, like Gallagher, maybe some playmaker, so he can move the midfire. So Gallagher is a Premier League player for me. I think he all his career he played on the Premier League. I think in the Tottenham he's gonna fit better, and is a really expensive player maybe for our club. So for 40 millions, I think it's better to take it out than keep it, and maybe try to take another player like I told it, like Zubimendi. Maybe Zubimendi is a better option for us.
I mean, I think everyone at Tottenham would love you to take Zubimendi, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be an actual, viable option, because he's just signed for Arsenal and he's doing very well there. But it looks as though in the press that Atleti could be going for João Gomez of Wolves, which could be a decent option. But Atleti put their money where their mouth is last summer and signed him for close to 40 million euros off Chelsea. He played a lot of minutes last season, starting quite a lot of games, but this season he's been only 4 starts in La Liga. Is that mainly due to the tactical fit? Is there anything else that we should know about?
No, I think the only problem is like Simeone doesn't know how to play with it. I know he's a really talented player. I know he's so physical. He can do high pressing recoveries, and maybe that's not what we are looking for. Maybe I don't know. I don't know why I'm not like a technical, but I think it's a profile player that not for Atletico de Madrid. Last season he played good, but we don't win anything. We're still on Champions League, but maybe we want to do like one more step up. So we have to do some moves to try to be there again.
He seemed to be quite well liked at Atletico by the fans. They even had a nickname for him. I think it translates to the English pitbull. It translates in Spanish. So, do you think the Atletico fans are sad to see him go? Are you sad to see him go?
I think he have a lot of fans, but I think the real Atletico de Madrid fans wants him to go. Or for him, because he deserves more minutes. He deserves to be in a starting lineup, and for us, because like what I say, is a really expensive player. Our club is not like Real Madrid or Football Club Barcelona that have that big amount of money to spend, and we already spent a lot of money these 2 years back. So I think for real Atletico Madrid fans who wants to win, it's a really good move.
Yeah, it's interesting in terms of where he's fitted in with Simeone, because Simeone seemed to have used him everywhere, where in the middle, on the left-hand side. At Chelsea, his best football came maybe in the 10, just behind the strikers, and the same when he was on loan at Crystal Palace just before he made his name at Chelsea. Where do you think Atleti fans saw the best of Conor Gallagher? Which position?
Oh, I think it's better. So you asked me what position is better for Conor Gallagher?
Yeah.
You asked me that?
Yeah.
I thought he has to play like an 8. He have to, like what I say, do high pressing. He have to be moving all the time. He will have to have all team pressing, all team doing physical movements. I know that. And from Atletico Madrid, we don't need that, because our players like Julian Alvarez is really it's a team like needs a playmaker more than a physical game. I don't know how to explain it in English maybe, but that's all what I think.
Yeah, I understand. You want someone who's maybe a bit calmer on the ball, a bit more of a technical passer, and Gallagher is a bit more physical. He runs around a lot, but his passing maybe lets him down. Is that fair to say, you think? Because a lot of fans, Tottenham fans, are worried that he's not that good with the ball at his feet and he's not so good with his passing. Do you think that's something he struggles with?
Yeah, and I think for Tottenham, what I see when I see Tottenham plays, I know he high pressing all the time. I think like that guy Betancourt is injured, right? So I don't know how much time is going to be out, but for a few months minimum, so he can cover that space on the lineup now. So I think for you it's a really good option, and he's a guy who plays all his life in the Premier League. I know he come from Crystal Palace, Chelsea, and West Brom, I think.
Yeah.
So, English guy, he have to play on there.
Yeah, I think as well. Where do you think? Do you think he really fitted in at Atletico as in terms of moving to Spain? Do you think he was always more at home in England? Do you feel?
Yeah, I think he's not going to fit like in a Spanish team like he's gonna fit on a Premier League team. Definitely.
Do you think, obviously you've only had him for a year and a half, do you think that maybe the bedding in period wasn't long enough? Maybe he needed a bit more time to acclimatise to the way that Atletico need to play, or is it just good just to separate ways now and send him back to England?
Maybe. I mean, obviously if this guy is gonna stay here for 5 years, he's gonna fit better than now. But also I think he's not that young. He's already 25 years. He have to make some moves now. If he waits 3 more years, maybe he's close to the 30s. So he have to go to a team where he can compete, where he can have some minutes to play. And I think that's good for him also.
So when you look at this transfer, do you see it? Overall, has he been a failure at Atletico, or is it just a matter of sometimes it's just not the right fit?
No, I don't think he's a failure. I think he come from score a goal 2 weeks ago. He have some assists this year. I know he's having a real impact on our game, but maybe it's not where we are expecting for a 40 million player. So if we can get that free space salary now, so we can look something when the season ends better for us, I think that will be great.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when I think of Simeone football and when I think of the teams that Simeone has built at Atletico, it's always hard-working, pressing, biting the challenge, very aggressive players. And I feel like that's what Conor Gallagher is. I thought Conor Gallagher was going to be a really good fit for Simeone Atletico. It's interesting why it hasn't worked out. I mean, you say, you know, maybe because he's not good enough on the ball, but you know, in terms of the fundamentals that he has, to me, he seems like a real Simeone player. Is that not the case?
I don't see it. I mean, Simeone wants to do really technical football, and I know Conor Gallagher can do that. I know he's a really talented player, but I think it's not like his big. I don't know how to say it, but I think that's so. His big attribute maybe is like his physical more than his talented football strategy. I don't know. So I think it's not like a Simeone player. I don't think so.
Are there any fans you speak to that think this is a bad deal, that you should keep him, or are most Atletico fans in agreement that, you know, it's right to sell?
Yeah, what I read on Twitter, on X, and it's, I think, on podcasts from X, that like at spaces where Atletico Madrid fans talks, they're always like thinking this is a good movement for us, because the money, because I think it's a lot of money for our club, like what I'd say. So not looking into the player, more looking into the team. I think the money is the first. I don't know how to
priority,
say it, but
it's the main thing, main reason.
Yeah, the main reason, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Charlie, thanks for your really good insight into Conor Gallagher's time at Atletico. It seems as though everyone just thinks this is a good move all round. Atletico happy to sell, Spurs happy to buy. The fans, I mean, Atletico fans happy to move him back to England to get the money in, and I say some Spurs fans happy to see him through the door at Tottenham as well. So, yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming on, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry for the English people if he doesn't
it's great.
understand me really good, but I try my best.
Perfectly. Thanks a lot, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye. And that was Charlie giving us his insight into Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear him say that they appreciate him as a player. They think he's a good player, but it's just not the right fit. Sometimes that's how it is. But as you say, it's quite surprising that is the case, because we did expect him to be someone kind of perfect for Simeone, but it seems as though Simeone didn't think he was technical enough. But to be fair for Simeone, as much as he's got a reputation, and rightly so, for being this aggressive, organised unit of a team, they did always have very technical players in the middle, like Koke, like Raul Garcia. But
it's also,
they've always had quite technical players.
It's
there.
also like, whenever we see Atletico play, it's always those games where they have to be backs against the wall in the big games, against the Real Madrids in the latter stage of the Champions League. But actually, probably when you watch them week in, week out in La Liga, they're probably not like that week in, week out.
Yeah, because most of the time they're on the front foot and they're attacking. But I'm saying, even if you look at his past teams, most of his centre mids have always been quite technical. Even they've had a nice blend, and maybe just Gallagher meets the physical part, but quite hasn't met that technical part that Simeone requires, it seems.
Yeah, it seems that way. And with Spurs' need for that more technical player in the middle of the park, obviously it remains to be seen how the Spurs fans... I think the Spurs fans will take to him just because of the type of player he is, not in terms of his on-the-ball stuff, but his off-the-ball stuff. I think, Spurs fans love a bit of that. But if Spurs don't bring in that ball player in the middle of the park, it's not going to fulfill the needs that we have in the squad, and that's the reality that comes down to. But it does up the level of the squad, and it does up the level of the first team. So this in itself, if this is an isolated signing, it's a good signing. But if this is it, and that's part of the bigger picture of Spurs building their squad, then it's not going to be good enough.
I do wonder if Tottenham are looking at the situation with Decky, with Maddison. Obviously, Xavi's now in the door. Do you reckon there's a feeling, once we have all of those players available, there's going to be enough technical ability in that midfield one way or another. And that's why we're focusing on upgrading those positions. Or is that the right way to feel? Should we be thinking right now those players aren't available? You can't trust them to be available. We're going to need to sign someone in the short term to fulfill that role. But I think when you're looking at a long-term squad planning point of view, I wonder if there is a feeling within the squad that those players, once they're back, will be enough.
I mean, I get that, but those are players more higher up the pitch. Madison's a 10, Decky's a 10 or a right winger. We need someone from deep that can play the ball. And we don't have that at all in the squad, injured or not injured. Yeah. So from a squad planning point of view, I don't think it makes sense not to go for a play like that, because it's a clear profile that we're missing in the squad. Yeah. So regardless of Madison and Decky.
I just hope we get one in this window. Look, it's a weird one, though, in terms of a lot of fans complaining, because when Tottenham fans talk about being ruthless in the window and stuff like that, is signings like Gallagher not kind of evidence of that? As much as, yes, we want to pass them, maybe that's also in the plan. I'm sure the club knows. I as much as I posited just before that maybe there's a feeling, I'm sure the club knows that a deep line playmaker is something that we need. Is upgrading when we can, shouldn't that be seen as just purely a positive thing?
Well, that's what I see. I see it as a positive, but I think a lot of fans, not just Spurs fans, when there's a desperate need for a certain profile and player in the squad, and you don't get that as your first signing of the window, they'll be like, why are we prioritising this guy and not going for the signing that we desperately need? And I get it to a certain extent.
It's a bit PTSD, isn't it? It's a bit like because of what's happened before.
But I've seen it with other fans around the Premier League, not just Spurs fans, being like, why are we prioritising this, not that? And then by the end of it, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I think the long-term vision and the long-term by the summer will be definitely to fill that profile. But I agree, it's particularly when you've got so many injuries in the squad with Bentancur and Bergvall injured now, and Sarr, obviously he's back from the AFCON, but he's not having a great season. I think it's a good signing, and I think, like I said before, I think it ups the level, but it shouldn't neglect the fact of what we need still in the squad.
Yeah, I think those are two separate issues. I think people, as you say, converge the two a bit too much. They say because we need this, that means Gallagher's a bad signing and it's not all we need. I think we need both. I think we all know, as much as I like some of the other players we have, unfortunately, they just haven't done it over the last 2 years, and we've needed a bit more, even when it comes from energy point of view and a bit more technical ability from our eights. I love Bergvall, I love Sarr, I like Gray, but unfortunately, if we're being completely honest, as much as they're very good players and good prospects, are they top 6 level players right now? Probably not. So I think that's the problem we have.
Yeah.
I think they're all got potential to be in the near future. And maybe with a bit more development, they're not too far off it. But right now, they're not that. Now, the question is it going to stunt their development? That's also a good argument, and that's something we're going to have to contend with. But if we're talking about fans wanting the club to be ruthless and wanting the club to just do whatever's necessary to upgrade and get the players ready now, all this kind of stuff, this does represent that.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, that was the Atleti fans' take on Conor Gallagher. It seems everyone's just happy all round, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Atleti's are happy to see the back of him, which ain't great, to be honest. But I can understand it to a certain point, certain perspective. However, let's get into a Tottenham update, because it's non-stop change here at Tottenham Hotspur. It really is non-stop change. We've seen everything that happened in the summer. Daniel Levy left after the summer. Scott Munn has gone, and now it looks as though Spurs have replaced Scott Munn with Rafi Mawson. As Spurs have announced, we are pleased to announce the appointment of Carlos Rafael Mawson as Director of Football Operations, a newly created role as part of the club's approach to build a modern, high-performance football structure to drive long-term success. And there's a whole statement on the website.
They said it was the summer of change. It looks like the winter of change as well.
Yeah, it looks like just the whole year of change.
A year of change.
So it says, Tottenham are pleased to announce the appointment of Carlos Rafael Mawson as Director of Football Operations, blah, blah, blah. Known as Rafi, he joins from the City Football Group, where he spent more than a decade in senior roles across global football model. most recently playing a central role in player transactions as Director of Football Transactions. Rafi's appointment is part of a sustained focus on strengthening the foundation that support performance on the pitch, which include an appointment of Dan Lewington as Performance Director, who will join us next month, and increase investment in our academy to enhance the pipeline of talent ready for the first team men's football. Rafi will lead our football administration, player care and training ground operations, and will join the club's executive leadership team. A key part of his role will be overseeing women's football, where we'll be continued to drive a renewed focus and ambition for Tottenham Hotspur women. Sporting Director Johan Langer said, "We are delighted to welcome Rafi to the club to the newly created role of Director of Football Operations. He was an outstanding candidate from a highly competitive process and brings a wealth of experience in the critical area of our football operation. His appointment is an important step as we continue to strengthen our football structure and support long-term success." Yeah. What do we make out of this?
I mean, fine. I mean, seems to have a good track record. We know that Scott Munn wasn't fancied here. He's been very quickly replaced. A lot of people, you know, obviously when you have yesterday the departure of Paratici and today this announcement, people put two and two together. But yeah, this isn't a Fabio replacement. It's a completely different role. Now, in his other role, he was
A negotiator.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Here he's Director of Football Operations. Is negotiating part of that remit? Is that what we're thinking?
Paul O'Keefe said a couple of weeks ago when the Paratici thing first started coming out that this guy is going to have a big kind of role in the transfer market for us.
In this?
He didn't elaborate on it. That's what he said.
I doubt it's like scouting and things like that, but maybe
must be negotiations.
Yeah, like maybe he's taking over from what Levy was. I don't know who's been negotiating in the meantime.
Probably Vinay, I would guess.
Vinay or Fabio or Lange. I doubt it'll be those, because their just job is to identify talent. I would say they're not the money men. Is Vinay the money man? I don't. Maybe. But I think this guy seems as though he's going to come in. Maybe he understands market value for certain players. He's been around the block when it comes to lots of transfers. He's already been a Director of Football Transactions at the City Group. So I think he's a good guy to have when it comes to determining, are we paying fair price for a player? Are we overpaying? Can we afford to splash out a bit more on this certain player if we really need them? And those kind of aspects. I think that's key.
The thing is, right, I'm just so sick and tired of all this, because it seems it's just so never-ending appointments, never-ending sackings, inside the boardroom, outside the boardroom. Scott Munn was the latest one. He came, he left. Now this guy's in. You know what I mean? It's just it's hard to get excited about any of these guys when none of them have a long tenure.
Yeah, I mean that has been the case recently. Now, when it comes to how this relates to us on the footballing side, apart from obviously him being in charge of transactions, he's Director of Football Operations. Now, I'm guessing the first team falls under that, as football operations. So, should Frank be fearful of this kind of appointment? Is he going to have a say when it comes to whether Frank has a job or not? Is that a different voice in the lead in that hierarchy in terms of getting a vote?
Well, I don't think Tom Barkley says he's going to report to Lang. So he's under Johan Lang.
He's under Johan Lang.
Yeah, in the men's side of things. In the women's side of things, apparently he's going to be, Johan Lang. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with that. So he will be a step ahead of that. But in terms of the men's side, apparently he's going to be reporting to Johan.
They've created role as part of the club's approach to build a modern, high-performance football structure to drive long-term success. I mean, if he's a replacement for Munn, I thought Munn was above that. So,
but it's a newly created role, though. It is so.
But surely a Director of Football Operations. What's the difference, I guess, between a Director of Football Operations and a Sporting Director? God, I it's just jargon at the end of the day. I guess, yeah, maybe it's not as important. I don't know if this guy's going to have a say, as I say, when it comes to Frank's job. Is he going to have a vote? As we've seen being reported, there's a split in the boardroom about Frank at the moment. Some people want him out, some people want him to stay.
Look, I'm sure this guy's going to have a say.
Does he have a vote?
I don't know if he has a vote. I don't know about
does he have
that.
a vote when it comes to Frank? And my whole point was, Scott Munn, wasn't he quite instrumental in getting Ange in, right? Because, Australian connection, whatever. And also...
he restructured the physio department and stuff like that.
And also, he also took a brunt of the criticism for Ange not working out. Munn's got to go as well. So is this guy going to is he going to want to install his own guy? That's where I was going with it. But I don't know if he has that much power.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But look, I'm sure if he sees things not working, and he'll definitely say, and he'll definitely have an point.
Guy.
Let's have a look. There's this thread on X about what he's done and what he's about. Let's go and have a look at it. And this account, Jewel THFC, says why Carlos Rafael Mawson could completely transform Tottenham to a top club. So this one caught my eye. And so this thread says Carlos Rafael Mawson isn't a household name, but he is one of the brains behind Manchester City's transfer and squad building machine. While coaches get the headlines, Mawson quietly ensures City sign elite players and build for long-term success. As a director of football transactions at the City Football Group, he handles the behind-the-scenes work that makes transfers happen: negotiation, contractual structures, squad planning, and financial compliance. Mawson ensures the right players arrive at the right time. So I guess from that aspect, Levy was obviously... When he was at Spurs, he was doing the role of 4 or 5 different people all at once. That's the key here. And I think when you're talking about Spurs being compliant with FFP and PSR and all that, maybe there's not someone that has that knowledge as much as Daniel Levy had. So maybe it's, imperative to bring someone in like this.
Yeah, he had it to a very high level, clearly, if he's running it for the City Group. So, look, I don't know why he ended up leaving the City Group for whatever reason, but I think those aspects in terms of negotiation, contracts, all that kind of stuff, if he's going to be taking up some of that burden, that's only a positive, I would say, because we need the flack taken up since Levy's gone.
So that's that. Then he went on to say, Spurs' problem: 1, fragmented decision-making. Different managers and short-term fixes have left the squad unbalanced. Mawson could centralise football operations, making recruitment and squad planning consistent and long-term. And it's interesting that, because actually when we were when we went out for the pre-season game against Roma, do you remember when Conte was there, Paratici was there? Paratici was talking to someone that I know very well, and he was telling me the context of the conversation. And back then it was Conte's future was always up in the air at Spurs, and they were talking about that, and they were talking about, well, if you're not sure that Conte is going to be here for the long term, how do you manoeuvre the transfer window and stuff like that? And Paratici was saying to him that the transfer structure is based around bringing in players that have a long-term future at the club, no matter who the manager is, and whatever manager can mould these kind of players into their kind of image. And, I guess that's what this guy has been doing at Manchester City. That's
what we need. Well, I guess there's a debate about that in terms of the whole debate is, do you buy back the manager in a sense that you buy what he wants specific to his system and you make the job as easy for him as possible, but then you risk of it not working out, having an unbalanced team and players that fit him? Or is it about just having club signings? You decide on a player that's right for the club and that's good for the long term and a player you believe in, and get the manager that you have to just fit him in somehow or whatever, and that's the way you move forward. And maybe you're future-proofing a bit. If this manager goes, these players can still fit in. Now the problem is we've probably been doing a bit of a mishmash, haven't we?
Yeah.
Over the last few years. Sometimes some players are signed club signings, some are specific to the club, to the manager, sorry. So I think a much more cohesive strategy should be in place. You look at a team like Brighton, that is just perfect. All players are very technical. They all fit into the way that any of the manager wants to play. All managers that come through the door play similar style in terms of a similar philosophy of how they want to approach games, how they want to play their football, and the players are seamlessly integrated into that. At Tottenham, it's very different. As we say, we've gone from different styles of managers, and we've gone. Some signings have been club signings during that time, and some have been fitted to the players.
The thing is, right, club signings, in a sense, aren't the issue here. The issue here is that Spurs' way of how they've gone from philosophy to philosophy to philosophy. Because if you stick with a philosophy and you have a manager and the next manager and the next manager that all have a similar philosophy, then the players that you bring in could all fit into each and every model. But if you're going from Conte to Nuno to Mourinho, from Poch to Ange and then back to Frank, then it's all a mismatch and it's never going to work.
Yeah, 100%. And not only that, it just gives... Every time there's a new manager, it's another rebuild because you've got to get rid of all these players and you've got to get players that fit into his system or players that he can use better.
That's what I'm saying.
That's wastes so much time, it wastes so much money, and that's kind of the consequence of us not having a cohesive strategy down the years. And that's where we are now because of years and years of mismanagement from the very top. And I'm not saying all the players are bad. It's just not cohesive, and that's the main thing.
Yeah. Then he goes on to say, problem 2, inefficient transfers. Spurs often overpay, assign the wrong profiles, or struggle to sell players. Mawson's approach, clearly player profiles, age, resale planning, centralised contract control, and data-backed signings.
Yeah, and to be fair, as much as people want to say about City, how much money they spent, they do rarely overpay.
Yeah.
I can't think. Maybe Grealish is one example of when they did, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
They've walked away from a few deals. Sanchez got too expensive, and they let United take him. Same with Maguire. They let United take him as well.
I think Declan Rice was one, wasn't it?
I think they matched Arsenal's bid. He just chose Arsenal, I think, or maybe Arsenal gazumped them a bit. But I'm just saying, City are very smart with their signings. They have a lot of players for big money, but there's no. They very rarely break transfer records for their signings. There's very much a lot of 50, 60 million pound signings for very good players and for players who are very good in the long term as well.
Yeah.
And
they obviously pay top wages.
And that is something definitely when we've gone big, it's not gone right for us. Let's be honest. More often than not. I think our record signings at the moment, Solanke. I don't think he's a bad player, but again, was it a bit of an overpayment? Probably. Richarlison, 60 million, that was an overpayment. And Dombele, that was an complete flop. Brennan, we've made a loss on him. And then you're stuck with him. Lo Celso, paid big money for him.
I mean, all our big signings.
Soldado was
all our big signings. They haven't worked out.
Yeah. So there's clearly a problem, and maybe that's why. I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling cycle because we're not smart enough to know when to go big or not. When we do go big, it goes wrong, and then that leads to a hesitancy to go big again by Levy because he's not smart enough to know whether he's doing the right thing or not. So we need smart people in charge to realise when's the right time to go big on a player and when's not. And we have opportunities to go big on the right player, and we've missed out on them because we have this fear that are we doing the right thing because we've done the wrong thing so many times.
It also ties in with the wage structure as well.
And that.
Because, you can see players like Man City, like plenty PSG, they can spend a similar amount on transfer fees than we spend, but obviously they're willing to go and pay the big wages, 250k plus.
Yeah.
Haaland didn't cost too much. Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia didn't. All these players that were signed, are within our remit in terms of what we've been willing to pay for transfer fees. However, they're all on big wages. Mm-hmm. So unless you pay those big wages, it's hard to attract those kind of players, and you're always going to be shopping in the kind of second, third tier of players. Mm-hmm. That's the reality.
Yeah, but that's true. But that's also that 100% plays into it. But it's not really an excuse. That's an excuse for us to be falling behind the very, very top. It's not an excuse to be falling behind anyone below.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the point is, we were at that level, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were at that level, and we've dropped because of the wage structure thing.
A part of it, yeah.
Next one, he says, how he fits Frank. Well, Thomas Frank thrives in structural environments. Mawson builds the operational backbone. Frank focuses on coaching, tactics and player development. Separation of duties equals less chaos and more progress. Well, he definitely thrived in a structured environment at Brentford, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously been part of the problem here. Because he's come in. I know he's been still in the job and he's got the quote-unquote support, but there is a split in the dressing room, in the hierarchy already about him. There has not been really a cohesive strategy, I think, since coming in about everyone's on the same page. Fabio's ended up leaving. It's been a big mess at the moment. At Brentford, it was a very holistic approach with everyone. Everyone was in it together. It was a very collaborative approach with him in the hierarchy. They always worked together. There was no one going against each other.
But that's what they're trying to build, it seems.
But the problem with Brentford is easy to do that when your standards are let's stay up, essentially. And if 17th is a good season, and at Tottenham, there are standards he needs to hit. And at the moment, obviously, he's not hitting them, but, quite far off it, to be honest. So there's obviously a reason why that is the reality. But obviously, coming from a structure like Brentford and coming into Tottenham, where it's very political, it's very messy, clearly, and there's a lot of change, there was always struggles. Obviously, it's not the excuse of why we're failing as badly as we are, but it also goes a bit of way to try and understand the challenges Frank has had since coming here.
Yeah, but it's not to say that it can't be done, because Brentford aren't the only team that's structured like that.
Absolutely.
You look at on a different level, on a different scale, like Manchester City. The way they're run. I know everyone's going to talk about the 115 charges and everything like that, but in terms of the way they're run, everyone's on the same page. Look at the way Arsenal run as well. Like, all these clubs are run probably, I wouldn't say in a similar way, but there are some comparisons that you can probably draw. It's just done on a much bigger scale.
Yeah, Brighton won brilliantly as well. Bournemouth run pretty well. So there's definitely a lot of structures. Just Tottenham's not one of them at the moment.
But I'm saying that's what they're trying to build at Tottenham, it seems.
Yeah,
whether they're successful or not is a difference. Yeah, of course. It takes a long time, probably.
It takes time. It shouldn't take forever. You know what I mean? It shouldn't take maybe a year or so, but like getting these structures in place and getting a plan together, I don't think that should take like decades, put it that way.
Yeah, look at Arsenal, for example. They were an absolute mess. You had fans calling for the ownership to leave and everything like that. And then they started doing the right thing. And it took probably fans to see it, maybe 2-3 years.
They gave Arteta a hell of a lot of power.
Yeah. Not from the beginning. Not from the beginning, they didn't. He was a coach. And then after 2-3 years, he turned into manager.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe he earned that power, but I feel like City and Arsenal, they're very the difference between them and the likes of, I feel like, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, these kind of teams, is they've clearly just given the managers carte blanche, all the power to make all the calls, and it's very much a bit of as much as maybe high above the manager. There's a more modern club structure that they have a more kind of old school manager has a lot of say within the decisions. I don't think that's the case at Brighton and Brentford and Bournemouth. I think I think at this point they're happy to lose. Managers come and go there, and they're happy it can change, and that doesn't really affect them. Whereas at Arsenal and City right now, there is so much power to those managers.
Yeah, right now, because the managers have earned that power. But when they were in that kind of building phase that we were in, I think Edu was the top guy at Arsenal, and he was the one making the majority of the shots.
Yeah, but I remember Arteta wanted Aubameyang gone, cancelled his contract, wanted Ozil gone, cancelled his contract. He's made a lot of big calls and they've backed him on them.
Yeah, but look, Spurs have done that with Brendan Johnson, it seems, with Thomas Frank, you know?
Well, I don't know if it's on the same level, but I guess top goal scorer.
I mean, there was a lot of excuses to keep Brendan Johnson at the football club and hold on for the money if we really wanted to, but Thomas Frank wasn't utilising him, and it was clear for me that Thomas Frank was the one that didn't want Brendan Johnson.
Yeah, but Aubameyang was the captain, top goal scorer and highest earner.
Yeah.
I don't think Brendan was that kind of squad status in this squad, I would say.
No, but he was still our top goal scorer, scored the most important Spurs goal that we can remember. So he still had a big status in the squad. Maybe nowhere near as big as Aubameyang.
I don't think it's a bigger call to sell Brennan as it is to cancel Aubameyang's contract. Is my point. But like the question is, like, given what we're discussing, like, do you give like a manager has to earn that? So Frank has to earn that power, doesn't he? You don't just get given to him.
Yeah, and you don't get it given to you. Definitely not after 6 months anyway.
Yeah.
Then he goes bigger picture. Frank and Mawson. Oh, I think I went. Did I say that one?
No.
Bigger picture, Frank and Mawson, club leg stability, not manager-led chaos, smarter transfers, consistent style, clear squad strategy, exactly how to top clubs like City, Arsenal and Liverpool operate.
Well, this is in 16th of December. That was a month ago. I don't know if this guy has seen our football for the last month or not. No, but look, I get it. I get trying to see it from that point of view. It's just the question is Frank the right guy to back? But that time will tell, I guess, at the moment.
He says Mawson structures the club, Frank develops a squad. If Tottenham hire him, it's not just an executive, it's a modern, sustainable top club model, giving Spurs a real chance to compete at the highest level. And then he says, a bonus, he's been the key behind the scenes of players like Gvardiol, Marmoush, Savinho, Kuzanov and more.
Okay. Well, this guy seems to... Well, I don't know if the guy knows what he's talking about, but... seems to have a lot of knowledge. He's a Bromby fan as well. No wonder he's... no, is that Bromby? No, Bronshot. No, it's not Bromby.
He's Danish.
He's Danish.
That's for sure.
I see. Now I'm starting to understand why he's always back in the narrative of keeping Frank and why it's such a match made in heaven.
But look, that is the situation. Rafi Mawson has joined the football club. I think that he's still on gardening leave with the City group and won't join for a few months. But we all know at Tottenham that's not the way it always works. He's probably doing some work behind the scenes. So that's that situation. But we did have another announcement today, and Spurs made a statement saying, we are delighted to welcome Johnny Heitinga to the club as first-team assistant coach, joining Thomas Frank's coaching staff. So he comes off the back of a pretty much failed attempt to be the head manager or the head coach at Ajax. He was appointed in the summer. He was relieved of his duties in November. But that comes off the back of quite a successful assistant spell at Liverpool, where he was assistant to Arne Slot last season in their title-winning team. So...
And things have fallen apart since.
Yeah, exactly. So it was all Johnny Heitinga. He was the glue that kept everything together.
On a serious note, though, obviously he's come in... to improve or if you read when you read the statement.
Shall we get through the statement?
Yeah, read the statement first. I'll make my point.
So the statement says, we are delighted to welcome John Heitinga to the club as first-team assistant coach, joining Thomas Frank's coaching staff. John began his coaching career in 2016 following retirement as a player working with Ajax youth teams, and took interim charge of the Dutch Giants senior side in January 2023 for the remainder of the season. Ahead of the following campaign, he joined West Ham as first-team assistant before being appointed as Liverpool's assistant coach in July 2024, helping Liverpool to the Premier League title last term. Most recently, he departed Merseyside and returned to Ajax to become head coach in May 2025. As a player, John has more than 400 club appearances for Ajax, Atletico Madrid, Everton, Fulham and Hertha Berlin. In addition, the former centre-back earned 87 caps for the Netherlands and represented the country at numerous major tournaments. Thomas Frank says John is a great addition to our coaching staff. His ability, personality and character will add huge value both on and off the pitch. He had an impressive playing career across Europe, including 5 years in the Premier League and with the Dutch national team. As a former defender, that will be one of his main responsibilities on the training pitch, and he brings great coaching and management experience from all levels of the game, which will really help us moving forward. Obviously, we know Matt Wells, that was his kind of role on the training pitch, focusing on the defence. So, to me, pretty much just seems like a like-for-like replacement.
Yeah, and the point I was going to make is, if he's coming in to help the defensive side, I don't know if that's part of his remit at Liverpool, but we have definitely seen that's been their major problem, isn't it, this season? Defensively, they've gotten far worse. Now, is that because Heitinger's left and that's, something that they've really struggled with? Maybe his replacement has struggled to get to grips with. Maybe they would have the same struggles defensively if Heitinger was here as well, but we'll never know. But I think the fact of the matter is, last season, they were much better defensively than they are this season, despite, albeit there's been lots and lots of changes. He's been quite highly rated. I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans wanting him back after he left Ajax and wanted Slot to get him back into the coaching fold at Anfield, and they seem not happy that he's gone to Tottenham. A lot of people also saying, is it significant that he's been pictured with Frank and Frank interviewed him? Is this a show of faith with Frank giving him an assistant and letting him pick the guy? I don't know if there's anything to read into that. People seem to be reading stuff into the fact that he's been pictured with Frank in the announcement. It's not just him by himself. A lot of people then, some other people suggesting, could he be geared up for an interim job here if Frank was to go? There's a lot of conspiracies going on there. I just think it's a good appointment. Clearly he's a talented coach who's done quite well as an assistant in other places. Look, so unfortunately didn't work at Ajax. Doesn't mean he's a bad coach or assistant coach, which is where he's done well. So welcome him to the club and hopefully he improves things.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. But look, he's had good roles at West Ham and at Liverpool in a similar vein to what he's done or what he's going to be doing here. So, yeah, welcome to the club, Johnny Heitinger. He comes in as first team assistant coach. But yeah, it's basically Matt Wells' replacement. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and let's talk transfers because I know all of you want to speak about transfers right now. And the first player we're going to speak about is the one and only Adam Wharton, as Dean Jones says that Tottenham are making discreet inquiries into signing Crystal Palace ace Adam Wharton. After launching initial inquiries, Spurs are now ascertaining how viable it is to truly sign Wharton in one of the next 2 windows. So I'm guessing this and next summer.
I've heard these inquiries are so discreet, even Palace and Wharton don't know about them. That's what I've heard. Yeah, look. We've said it a million times. I love Wharton. I think it'll be perfect for us. I just think we've missed a boat on him. We had a chance to get him at Blackburn. We didn't pull the trigger. We waited or whatever. Palace jumped the gun. He is now a 100 million plus player, and all the big clubs are looking at him. Probably going to go away with England in the summer. I just can't see it happening unless Anderson goes to City. Liverpool gets someone else and maybe we have a shot, but I just find it hard to believe.
Yeah, where do you think he ends up?
I think Liverpool and City get one of him and Anderson, to be honest. I'm not sure which one goes where.
Yeah.
Although all the rumours at the moment that City are getting Anderson, so maybe he goes to Liverpool. Then again, Liverpool have spent a hell of a lot of money, so whether they have another 100 million spend, but maybe they do.
Yeah, you just don't know how things are going to work out, especially like 6 months prior. Like we all thought Guehi was nailed on to go to Liverpool. Now it looks like he might be going to Man City. So I mean, yeah, you just never, or Arsenal. You just never know. But I think obviously whoever gets Adam Wharton is going to be a very lucky club. There are kind of worries about his injury record because hasn't been able to have a long period of sustained amount of football injury free, but he's still a very young player. And I think if Spurs want to make a statement signing and want to push the boat out and break our transfer record, he's probably the guy to do it for.
Yeah, for sure. I would have him in a heartbeat. He's so good for us, but he'd be brilliant for us. But yeah, I find it hard to believe Tottenham are going to actually get him through the door.
I wouldn't be surprised if we try, but I would be surprised if we actually get him.
Deadline day bid rejected. Sounds like Tottenham.
The Mark Guehi situation all over again. But a player that could be a realistic target for Tottenham is Middlesbrough's Hayden Hackney, a player that we have been linked to in the past, having a very good season with Middlesbrough this year. They are flying high, second in the Championship. Dean Jones again says that both Tottenham and Manchester United hold an interest in Hayden Hackney. Borough have a £30 million valuation on Hackney, and he has now been heavily scouted across this season by many Premier League clubs. Should any club pay £30 million price tag, it will be the biggest sale in Borough's history, but they are reluctant to sell and do not believe anyone will meet his valuation this window. Beyond this season, there is however, an acceptance that they would need to sell in the summer if they do not win promotion this season. So, I mean, I think we've spoken about him for many years now, Hayden Hackney. I think since he was 20, maybe the last 3 years, maybe the last 2 years. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he seems to be improving every year, Hayden Hackney. And I think this year might be his best season to date, to be honest.
Yeah, and he seems to be the kind of midfielder we want as well. Someone who progresses the ball, who's very comfortable on the ball. Off the back of what we just spoke about, missing out on Wharton when he was at a similar stage for cheaper money, do we want to do the same with Hackney? Now, why hasn't anyone gone for Hackney over the last couple of years? There's been a lot of talk about him, but no one's pulled the trigger. Wharton, it seemed as though he broke on the scene and was very quickly going to the Premier League. So clearly people are concerned about him. Is there something that teams and scouting departments are not sure about him? That's the question, because no one seems to be pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, to be honest. I think in previous years, I think he's, maybe a bit too over the top in his aggressive nature on the pitch. Maybe picks up a tad too many bookings and has that bit of a streak in his game. But I think as the years progress, he's got so much better as, controlling games and his progressive passing and all those kind of metrics that Spurs are desperate for.
Well, I think for that price, well, then again, it's not actually far off what we've paid for Gallagher. So I was going to say it's not a bad price, but Gallagher, if we can get a player like Gallagher for a little bit more, then maybe there is better value out there. But I think if we're going to take a punt, I think I'm not against it. Maybe if we can get him for a bit less than the asking price. How much is Wharton went for like 20 million, didn't he?
Yeah, around about.
Price.
But he went at like 19.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will probably be complaining unproven championship, all this kind of stuff. But it's one of those, a bit like Wharton, you kind of don't know until he's in the Premier League whether he's good enough.
Yeah. And then again, you run the risk if he stays there and Middlesbrough get promoted and he has a stunning season in the Premier League, then automatically his price tag probably doubles.
Or just a lower Premier League tag, get him like Palace, like got Wharton for, and all of a sudden he then shoots up. So that's the run. That's the risky run. Yeah, that's what scouting department's for. That's what all the data analysis and whatever is for. For some reason they decided Wharton wasn't worth it. Are they going to decide that Hackney is? We'll see.
And last but not least, Spurs have been linked to another goalkeeper, and he goes by the name of, where is it? Mile Svila of Roma.
Svila.
Do you know much about him?
I actually do. Not tons, but I remember he made his debut for Benfica when he was, I believe, 15. 15 or 16. 15? And he was very young. And I remember this quite clearly. They were playing Man United on his debut. He was 16, I think. And there was a free kick from about 45 yards for United. The cross was floated in, and Svila comes and claims, grabs the ball, and then took 2 steps backwards and carried the ball over the line.
Oh, God. I thought you were telling me about this amazing thing.
So he's proper Tottenham. He's proper Spurs. I believe he's actually obviously gone on to create quite a good career for himself. Before Roma, where was he? I can't remember.
Benfica.
Was it Benfica?
Yeah. So
I think he's done quite well. I think Mourinho's been a big fan of his. Actually, Mourinho was manager of United in that game, and then he went on to sign him. A lot of people think he's got a clear look. He's 26 now. So that's what 10 years ago I'm talking about when it was. I think that's true. I think it was like 2018. So yeah, closer. Maybe he's a bit younger, a bit older. Yeah, I think Mourinho really likes him. Is he a good player with the ball at his feet? That kind of stuff. I don't know, but I think he's pretty good. He's a pretty good keeper. A lot of people rate him quite highly.
So the report comes from a Roma publication called Roma Live, and they say Roma's Mile Svila is admired by many Premier League sides. Spurs, Chelsea, Manchester United have all scouted the Serbian at various points this season, and his stock continues to rise. Tottenham have been impressed by the 26-year-old and are now pursuing the former Benfica keeper. Roma would only consider selling him if there's an excessive offer on the table. It's asserted that it will take an offer of around 70 million euros to prize the Serbian away from the Stadio Olimpico, which would make him the 3rd most expensive keeper in the history, behind Kepa, Arrizabalaga and Alisson Becker.
There's a lot of people in the comments who seem to rate him highly.
Yeah, so I mean, I read a report aside to this saying he's like the top performing goalkeeper in Serie A this season.
That's good.
I've never seen him play, so it's hard to make an actual judgment, but those are what the reports are saying.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say if he's better than Vicario. Obviously, Vicario was the second top performing keeper in Serie A when we signed him behind Onana, I think it was. And then Onana came in, was a flop, and Vicario was seen as somewhat a brilliant signing. Now people are wandering him out, but yeah, I think I'd look into him. I think we definitely probably need an upgrade on Vicario, but I don't know if Spilar's that guy, but I think he's pretty good.
Well, another one for the scouting department to see. But it's, if we do signing him, and that is what they're going for, a record goalkeeping fee of like 60 million euros. It's just crazy talk, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
But look, that is the Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below any thoughts regarding all the news stories that we have brought to you today. Would you like to see Mile Svillar at Tottenham Hotspur? Do you think Adam Wharton, is there any sort of realistic possibility that Spurs can sign him?
Well, at least it wasn't for Jahez. Some people saying, it's definitely for Jahez. I was saying that report, but it wasn't. So maybe there's a slight chance. Maybe there's a slight chance.
And Hayden Hackney, people, would you be happy with Hayden Hackney as the guy? So a lot of questions. I need your answers. But to finish off the stream, we are going to be focusing again on Conor Gallagher. We're going to be getting a tactics board out and give you some different variations of how we think we can line up with Conor Gallagher, or what a Spurs side will look like with Conor Gallagher in the team. Yeah,
so Conor Gallagher has just signed yesterday. There's a lot of kind of chatter about how good of a fit he is for Tottenham. Is he going to improve our midfield? Is he what we need? That kind of stuff. If you're looking on screen right now, this is kind of the 11 that Tottenham have, with injuries at the moment. You got Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, Adogi, or Spence. Paulinho, Gray's our pivot. Simmons, Odebertel, Moani. That's kind of how we've been lining up in recent games. Obviously, Bentancur's got a 3-month injury. Bergvall, I've actually seen a rumour Bergvall might be fit for the weekend, so we'll see about that. But
really,
just a rumour.
Well, what's he said in the press conference? There's a press conference for today.
Yeah, I'm looking for updates. Haven't seen any more updates.
Anyway,
so yeah, now Gallagher coming into the team. I think most people. Actually, I've got to change his number because I've put him down as 5. Just assuming. Whatever, I'll just bring him back on. So, Gallagher come into the team. I think most people assume he will be taking Gray's position here. Probably. Double pivot alongside Paulinho with Simmons in support. That's, I think, in the number. I think people see him as a number 8. So logically, Paulinho number 6, Gallagher number 5, number 8. Sorry, he's not number 5, and Simmons in the 10. But I think the problem you have here is Gallagher and Paulinho both rate very low for progressive passes. Obviously, it's been a problem we've had, regardless, I guess, who we've had in that middle, whether it's an instruction from Frank or the players. You leave up to you, but the problem is that gonna solve the problem of Simmons not getting the ball in these areas here? Is he going to be getting the ball in space like we want in good positions with Gallagher in the double pivot? Is that going to change? Now, if you flip it, I think what you could say is, if people think that Gallagher is a signing in reaction to Bentancur, then would it not make more sense if the midfield comes in and it's Paulinho coming out and Gray keeping his place, and then double pivot of Gray and Gallagher? Does that not, because if it is a immediate response to Bentancur, if he's coming in for Bentancur, that means Paulinho is coming out, and that means Gray is coming into the midfield. I think this is what we could be seeing on Saturday. I think we could be seeing on Saturday Gallagher and Gray in a pivot, because Gray, you still got a bit more of a forward-thinking player, but you've got that little bit of defensive head on his shoulders. Gallagher's obviously very forward-thinking, but also bundles of energy, so he's not going to leave Gray high and dry. They both, I think, could be looking to try and get Simmons involved in these areas. And I think you maybe don't lose as much passing ability as if you just had Gallagher and Paulinho potentially together. But I think in some games, like similar to how we went to City away, we had Bentancur, Paulinho that was brilliant. I think Gallagher and Paulinho in that kind of game would be great as well.
Yeah, the thing is about is he a direct replacement for Bentancur? Obviously, Bentancur's got injured for 3 months. We've signed Gallagher, so that would suggest he is. But also, we have seen many games this season when Bentancur and Paulinho have lined up against each other, but we haven't seen it as, you know, the best option to have in games, and it makes us look a bit too sideways and backwards. But let's be honest, whoever's been there, we've been a bit too sideways and backwards. So is it an actual personnel problem, or is it the tactical problem? I think if you look at the passing metrics that Bentancur showed last season as opposed to this season, that would show you it's definitely a tactical structural issue as opposed to a personnel issue. So I think Gallagher's so versatile. I think he can play alongside a Paulinho, he can play alongside a Gray, he can play in the 10 with Javi moved out to the left. I think he can play all those roles.
But in the short term, where do we, like say Saturday, where do we expect, like coming in, first game, we know he's coming straight to the team. Where does he come into?
See, that on screen now, that's what I want to see. But I got a feeling it might be a Paulinho next to him.
I've just got a feeling that
I hope it is.
Because he hasn't played Paulinho. He's only played him because Bentancur was injured.
Yeah.
Before it's been Bentancur and Gray. So that tells me that he wouldn't want Paulinho next to Gallagher. He would want Gallagher next to Gray. That's the feeling I get.
Also, Paulinho, since coming back in, his performances have been good.
That's also true. He played very well against Bournemouth, and in the second half against Villa, he was brilliant. So would you want to drop him? That's also a very good. But in terms of what gives the midfield better balance, I kind of feel like Gallagher and Gray probably does give it a bit better balance.
It depends who you're playing against, to be honest. Like if you're away to Manchester City or Arsenal, you probably want to see a Gallagher alongside a Paulinho. But if you're at home to West Ham on the weekend, then I'd much prefer to see a Gallagher alongside a Gray.
I think as well, a lot of people, there's some suggestions, as you said, is it possible that with Frank not favouring a left winger, and Frank also really liking his number 10 to be big duel winners and very intense, is it possible the plan is to put Simmons out wide, get Gallagher in the 10 and have a double pivot like that, and with Simmons tucking in a bit, getting a doggy in out, maybe Sousa as well, overlapping in these areas, getting Simmons kind of tucking in, and just Gallagher just pressing the shit out of everyone in these areas here from a real higher up position. And as well, a lot of people are suggesting a lot of Gallagher's best work does come in these areas rather than a bit deeper. Yeah. He's actually not as effective in these areas. He's much more effective when it comes to the final third, late runs, picking the ball up from the edge of the box, and when he's pressing as well. He was one of the best pressers in the attacking third when he was in the Premier League. So is there a chance as well, I guess we'll see on Saturday, but is there a chance that this is actually Frank's idea, to bring him in, put him in the 10 and shove Simmons back out wide? I
think there's a high chance of that, to be honest. We know that Frank has utilised Simmons on the left before at Spurs, particularly when he first came to the club. I think his best work has come from the 10, and whenever he's flourished in games, he has been in those kind of central areas, picking up those pockets of space. However, what you just explained with Gallagher and him pressing from the front and him doing his best work in those areas of the pitch, I can definitely seeing this being, a very likely outcome. Like I said before, he's very versatile, so I think we'll see different setups in different games. But I think in definitely a couple of games we will see this, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, because if he does do it against West Ham, I don't want to see it, because I want to see us persisting with Mathys Tel, because Mathys Tel is riding a wave of a bit of confidence right now. He's obviously questioning his future here, or questioning at least the future of this season, particularly here, in looking for a loan move because he's not getting enough minutes. However, we have heard as well, one of the worries he's not having enough time in the number 9 situation. So if that is the case and he's hell bent on only playing 9, then probably here's not the right place for him. But I think if he's happy to keep persisting on the left-hand side where he's doing a lot of good work, I don't want to break that up right now. And I think Javi as well just had a really good performance in the 10 in the second half against Aston Villa. So we need to continue seeing the good things that are flourishing a little bit in this team. And Matty's Tell's definitely one of them on the left-hand side. And Javi Simmons in the 10 is definitely one of them as well. So, in my opinion, we will probably see that at some point. But in the near future, in the next couple of games, it has to be Tell on the left and it has to be Javi in the 10. Has to be.
And also, I guess one subtle difference you could see is, could it be a bit more of a how kind of Ange had his 4-3-3, not in the same way, but he had kind of one attacking 8, one more defensive 8, and then obviously he had a sitter. Could it be that kind of element? Maybe Gray, we saw him against Villa on Saturday, in these areas on the ball, splitting between the centre backs. Paulinho was kind of in the mix. Could it be that his idea is maybe a bit more of a 4-3-3, Gray is the sitting 6, and maybe Paulinho and Gallagher as kind of two very combative 8s, and Gallagher given a bit more license to get forward?
Yeah, 100%. We can definitely. I think we'll see all of them, to be honest. The nature of Thomas Frank and how he likes to chop and change. So
it will differ every game.
I think in all these different variations, I think we've got a lot of football to play, half a season to go. I think we're going to see all these different variations, and obviously you've got Lucas Bergvall to add into that mix as well. So, but if we're going to be focusing on this game this weekend, I genuinely believe it will be Gallagher and Paulinho, but it very well could. I hope it's Paulinho and Gray.
I also think a role he would be actually really perfect for is if we take Gray out and you put Danso in and you go to a back 3, and this kind of you have Odegaard there, Simmons there. I think this role here is like this number 8, a box-to-box, like pure number 8, with which who covers lots of ground in a 2, with the 3 behind him. I actually think he'd be great in that role because he gets so much energy, like under Conte in like a 3-4-3, that kind of role he had where like Bentancur and Højbjerg really shone. I think Gallagher could really shine in that. If we ever went to a back 3 and had Gallagher in a double pivot there, I think he'd be brilliant there. Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised that with what Frank has shown over the past couple of years in the Premier League, that we haven't seen 3 at the back more often than we have. Well, we've seen it twice. Once against Arsenal and once against PSG.
Yeah.
I think it's mad to me that we haven't seen that more. Particularly, I guess, everyone's going to point to, we haven't had enough centre-backs, but we definitely had 3 on more than one occasion at our disposal. Now we got Danso in the mix as well. We got Ben Davis as well. So do you expect to see 3 at the back, maybe a bit more regular, or at least more than twice in the second half of the season?
Yeah, I thought we would have seen it a bit more. Obviously, the whole narrative around Frank is how kind of adaptive he is. He, not scared to change formation, all this kind of stuff. Maybe he feels like we're not up to speed yet with the back 3 as much as we are with the other formations, and that's why he's reluctant to use it. Maybe it's a case of time. Once we build up that way of playing, he'll use it more. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised that we haven't gone to it a bit more. Or it's not. To be fair, it's not like we've looked great when we have been in it, apart from the PSG game.
Well, we've only done it twice. One was really good.
But
it's hard.
Really it's hard for me to call for it to be played more when it's not like I've seen us play well there. Like, why aren't we doing it more? Like, we had one good game against PSG. We were absolutely horrendous against Arsenal with the back 3. So I don't know whether he's not playing it because he just doesn't feel like it works, or I just want to see it more just to see if it works or not. I'll be shocked if we don't see it a few more times.
The differences between the PSG game and the Arsenal game, obviously the PSG game was his first game in management, the first game at Tottenham. And the way we utilised that 3 at the back was just perfect. Kudus was pressing so high up the pitch. We were like animals that day in terms of our aggressive nature. And obviously PSG weren't at the physical level, so maybe that has a big part to play of why it looked so good and why we were so dominant. We had a whole pre-season behind it. Against Arsenal, we just couldn't get out of our own third, basically, in the back, and we weren't even able to utilise it properly because Arsenal just completely dominated us, and they were obviously at a lot bigger physical levels that day as well. So I would like to see it. I would like to see it more.
I think one player, I think Gallagher, I can see having a really good rapport with is this player coming back from injury now, Dominic Solanke. I think because he's such a great backboard when he backs into players and just lays it off for on-rushing players, rather than making late runs or gets players involved in the edge of the box. If we can get Romero or Porro or Gray or whatever, getting these passes into Solanke and getting him just laying it off for Gallagher in the box or in and around the box, I think that I can see them having a really good link-up, actually. Hopefully Solanke gets up to speed as soon as possible. But I think that's something to watch out for, Solanke and Gallagher having a bit of a rapport. If Gallagher plays a bit further forward.
It'll be interesting to see when Solanke is going to get really up to speed, because he was out for a long time, whole half of the season. So are we even going to see Solanke start regularly until the back end of the season? March, April time.
Now here's a question. What is our best midfield with everyone fit?
What, if you include Bentancur in there? And
Bentancur, Decky, Madison, Bergvall, and now Gallagher in there.
Are we talking about a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Whatever. What's our best midfield? They're unfit. We have to make that decision.
If it's a 4-2-3-1, I think our best midfield is probably, and if everyone's playing at their best, I think it's Bentancur, Gallagher.
Cup final, we have to pick 3 players.
Depends who it's against. I might go with Bentancur, Gallagher, Javi.
Bentancur, Gallagher, Javi in our best.
Yeah.
You think Bentancur's still in our best midfield? I guess. Including Madison and Decky.
Oh, I forgot about them. It's a hard question.
And you got Bergvall there as well.
Well, who's the best sitter in our squad? Probably Bentancur.
I guess he's the one I guess people would say Paulinho, but he's gone for Bentancur, hasn't he?
Yeah, but we're not going on Frank's opinion. We're going on our opinion.
I think Paulinho is probably a better player, but I think Bentancur offers more what we need in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see Paulinho.
This is interesting, though. Interesting update from Thomas Frank in the press conference. First of all, he says Richie's out for up to 7 weeks.
7 weeks?
Yep.
Great.
And he says Lucas could be available, and he said Bissouma is back and he's available.
Is Bissouma in our best midfield?
Well, if we're talking just on footballing ability, Bissouma probably is our best sitter.
He's our best number 6. 100%. I think this midfield as well would be in certain games. I would love to see when if Bergvall's fit, Bergvall and Gallagher here. In certain games when we want to be really attacking, with Simmons in the 10, and Tell off the left.
But if everyone's fit, our best 10 is Madison.
I think it's
our best 10 is Madison.
Yeah, I think so. So Madison instead of Xavi, maybe Xavi off the left, Madison in the centre, Decky off the right. Is there enough pace there?
Bissouma is our best 6 if we're just judging footballing ability, but his contract's up at the end of the season. We're not going to renew it.
I think this double pivot would be chaotic though, Bergvall and Gallagher. But I think there are certain games once Bergvall matures a bit, even more.
That is not our best midfield, man.
I'm not saying it's our best midfield. I'm just saying I would love to see that in certain games, like when we want to be on the front foot.
Like this weekend,
we want to
like to see that, yeah.
Because I think there's enough energy in those two that they won't necessarily be overrun.
Yeah, but
I think the biggest problem
you've swayed the conversation off path. We're talking about cup final.
No, I've moved on from that.
Who is our best midfield if we're picking a cup final team tomorrow? No, not tomorrow. At the start of next season.
Start of next season. Well, everyone's, I guess Gallagher.
Madison has to be in there. Madison has to be the 10, in my opinion.
So Xavi left out completely.
We're going on who our best midfield is. And unfortunately, if we're going on 10, Madison's the best.
for saying Bentancur, Maddison, Gallagher.
If it is a cup final, I might prefer Paulinho there, though, to be fair.
Yeah, me too. But, and you think there's enough. Well, I don't know. Paulinho, I don't like the thought of Paulinho and Gallagher playing together. There's something about that. It just tells me that would be a disaster.
Either or, it's a very hard decision.
Yeah. Well, but you put Gallagher, because everyone's saying Gallagher definitely is our best midfielder.
Well, you have Paulinho as the sitter. You have Gallagher as the box-to-box. You have Maddison as the 10. I can see it working.
There's so many options. We haven't even mentioned Sarr once in this video.
Yeah, Pape as well.
He's coming back. Obviously, Decky I don't know if he's going to be seen more as a right winger. It'd be interesting to see if Basuma gets any game time. He was on the bench this weekend. And that's going to be very interesting if he starts to play his way back. But we're going to need him. But yeah, I think there's lots of different ways we can get Gallagher. I think we can set up with Gallagher as well. Do you think as well? Obviously, we saw him play Bergvall off the right. And he's obviously played left wing sometimes for Atletico. Is there any games maybe we might see him in these wide attacking roles?
No.
If we need be.
Only if we have a major injury crisis. Well, we do at the moment.
Which we do.
I think even with the options that we have, I don't think we see him there. Not in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean...
To be fair, though, we've seen Bergvall there.
That's
so.
what I'm saying. We saw Bergvall for left and the right.
Yeah, like, knowing Thomas Frank, we probably will see it, to be honest, but I don't want to see it, if that makes sense.
I agree. I just think with our lack of options centre mid, why play him in those positions? But as you said, we
don't even have a lack of options in centre mid, though. This whole lack of options in centre mid thing is a fallacy, man. It's not true. We don't have a lack of options in centre mid.
Well, lack of good options, mate. Or lack of good options. What's going on here?
We've got Paulinho. We've got Connor now. We've got Pape, who's only going to miss one more game. We've got Bissouma. We've got Gray. We've got Bergvall. We've got 6 midfielders.
Well, I guess Bergvall's fit, so... Also, the narrative that we've signed him just because of Bentancur, probably not true. Do you think if Bentancur doesn't get injured, we still get him?
Well, it could be as well that he doesn't rate people like Pape. Like, I don't know. Maybe he thinks that Bergvall... He obviously doesn't see Bergvall as an option in the double pivot, which I think is crazy. Maybe he thinks Gray isn't totally ready to start every game in the Premier League, which is true. So... This is from Frank's mind. But in terms of options, we do have options.
All right, well, those are the different ways we think Spurs can set up with Gallagher.
All right, well, there you have it. That is the situation there. Let's talk a bit more about Richarlison, because that's quite big news. Yes. Richarlison, hamstring injury, which is going to keep him out to up to 7 weeks.
That is gutting for him, man. I am absolutely gutted for him. Especially, does that pretty much rule him out of the World Cup? I'm not saying injured for the World Cup, but in terms of being selected, like, is he going to really pick a player who's just come back off a 7-week injury? That's got to be a massive concern for Rishi. Obviously, we know he's struggled so much with injury over the past couple of years, and
I don't think it hampers anything to do with the World Cup. You're saying 7 weeks is 5th of March. You've still got 3 months of the season to go.
Yeah, if he does, I mean, it's not great.
Obviously, it's not something that's going to help his cause if you've had a 7 months. But I don't think it hampers it too much, because you've still got 3 months. If he proves himself over those 3 months, then I think that he's got a good chance of going.
He's just been injured. Just come back from injury, and he's had so many injury problems that obviously casts more doubt about his ability to stay fit, and that's obviously going to play on any manager's mind when you think about the World Cup. But I feel so bad for him, man. He just can't seem to avoid a major injury every season, and he has at least one, and it's happened again. Especially this season as well, he's been quite good goal scoring form when he has been fit. So, he would say again, like in other seasons, like in Ange's first season, when he stayed fit and had a brilliant goal scoring run and then got injured. Last season, pretty much injured the whole year, but then came back late in the season and did quite well in the Europa League run. And again this season, stayed fit, scored goals, and then he's gone down with injury again. So I feel for him. I'm sure it's not going to be doing too great for his, I'm sure he's feeling awful about it because it's happened again. Let's just hope he gets fit as soon as possible and we can see him scoring goals again. But I think this is not doing wonders for his Spurs career. I think if we wanted rid of him anyway, probably last summer, it's going to be even harder to shift him now. He's got another big injury, but hopefully he comes back and proves a bit of fitness when he comes back and scores some goals. But it's a massive blow for his career again.
It depends what he's willing to do in the summer, because I think Spurs will definitely accept offers for him. I think you'll get offers from the likes of teams from Brazil, Flamengo, whatever. I think you'll get offers from Saudi teams. Is he willing to go to these kind of teams? Does he want to, is he hell-bent on staying in the Premier League like we've heard before? Will Everton take a punt on him again? Like, there are a few options for him, but I think after Tottenham there is only one way for him, and that's probably down, unfortunately for him. And when you can't stay fit, then, unfortunately, that's just what it's going to have to come to. And it could be a very likely scenario that he is here next season and he runs out his contract. That could be probably the most likeliest of scenarios.
Well, we're seeing it now with Basuma, likely to run down his contract. I wouldn't be surprised if Rishi goes the same way.
Yeah, exactly. So that is, devastating for Rishi, because he was probably having his best season in a Spurs shirt in terms of his goal output and starting every week and everything like that. So, yeah, it's a big shame for him. Please tell me this. Are Richarlison and Solanke actually the same person? Seriously, why can't we not ever have them fit at the same time? We signed Solanke so he can compete with Richarlison for the number 9, but it's never competing. It's either or. One of them is always injured.
Yeah, that's just how it's been. It's crazy.
Even on the last weekend, Richarlison goes off injured, Solanke comes back on for the first time in 6 months.
Their contract, they can't be in the same squad or something.
It's madness, man.
They never, ever... I know they played a bit together in the Europa League run, but literally pretty much the whole of last season, Solanke got injured very early on. Rishi came in, then Rishi got a big injury, and then Solanke stayed fit all up until literally that game against Everton, where Rishi is obviously his first game back, and Solanke went down in training literally on the Friday and got a 3-month injury. And then Solanke comes back and Richie went down. It's just crazy. We'd never get them at the same time.
It's madness. But I guess positive news that Lucas could be available. Basuma is back, so he's available as well. And he said Destiny and Dom had a good week of training, so they're closer to playing more minutes as well.
Yeah, so, do you reckon either of them start? Probably not. Probably continue with Spence and Moani. I'm guessing, unless Telg is given a go up front.
Sousa?
I don't think Sousa starts. I'll be shocked. Maybe.
No, I don't think he starts as well. There is a possibility that Destiny starts, but it probably will be Spence and Porro.
I wouldn't mind an hour of Destiny and then bring on Spence or something.
Yeah, it could very well be. Because, cast your mind back to 2 weeks ago, Frank said in the press conference that Udogi's closer to being back than Solanke. Solanke came on in the game. Udogi stayed on the bench. And he's saying, he's carried on training and he's had a good week of training this week. So he might be ready to start.
He says they look good, both of them. So let's hope. Let's hope they come back and don't need too much time to get back up to speed.
When do you think, I know it's an impossible question, but when do you think we'll first start seeing Solanke start a game? Are we a while away from seeing that, do you reckon?
A while. He's in the squad. He's been coming on a few games. Give it a few weeks. I don't think it's that long.
Hope not. He was out for a significant time, wasn't
he? Obviously, he can't play in the Champions League, can he?
No.
So those 2 games are going to hamper him.
Yeah, so our only fit striker for the Champions League is Moani now. He's our only one. Jesus Christ, I didn't even clock that.
Well, Tell can play there, apparently.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
Yeah. I think, what do you reckon about Moani?
Dane.
Dane, yeah. I'm not convinced about Moani. I think Moani has looked so poor recently.
I agree. I think early on there was some good things, but even those things are kind of coming out of his game in the moment. And you add into the fact he can't score. I think definitely Tottenham are thinking about already moving him on.
Frank said that it's a culture that's getting a little bit stronger. I can see the small signs of the culture in the training, very intense and focused, when we're working very hard on the offensive part of the game.
Let's see it.
And he says, we know the defensive side looks better and the set pieces, but we need to improve on the offensive side. That's absolutely spot on.
Well, the defensive side has been a disaster. There's no two ways about it. It has been horrendous, the offensive side.
Yeah.
So it's not about improving, it's about major surgery in the offensive side. But the thing is...
Which is improving.
But the thing is, that doesn't quite compute for me because the two things are related. The defensive side probably looks better because the offensive side is so bad. You know what I mean? Because we don't get forward in for the same amount of time, because we spend so much time defending, because of how we're set up. The two things are linked. It's not separate.
Of course.
But he's acting like they are separate.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's true. The way you defend influences the way you attack, vice versa. The way you attack influences the way you defend. So...
Well, all you have to do is look at Pochettino's teams as an example. We were excellent at defending in that team.
Yeah.
Over a 2-year period, we had the best defence in the Premier League. But that was because we were so aggressive on the other end of the pitch, and we defended higher up from the top of the pitch. And we did, we assisted Vertonghen and Alderweireld so well with other players on the pitch defending high, and which obviously led to better attacking play as well. So, yeah, we need to see more of that.
But then, so I just, how are you... Look, maybe he's right, and maybe he's able to tweak the offensive side while keeping the same defensive structure. But for me, I think if we're gonna attack more and we're gonna see more offensively, you're gonna have to put more risk defensively. Putting more risk opens you up a bit. You've got risk getting caught. The reason we're not getting caught maybe on counter attacks as much as we were last season is because we are very risk averse, and we position players to avoid getting counters. But that's also leading to an absolutely shambolic attack. Structurally, let alone with the players, just structurally, it's horrendous.
Would you not say the offensive side of the game? I know it's not great, and I know it's been still bad, but are you not seeing improvements?
We're creating more chances, I guess, from crosses and stuff, set pieces. I'm not seeing too much from open play, to be honest, but we are creating a few more chances recent weeks. That's true.
I think just as much as we've still seen moments in games, and like that first half against Villa, moments in the Bournemouth game. We're nowhere near where we want to be as fans, that's for sure. But I do think when you look at the last month as a Spurs fan as opposed to the last 2 months before that, I am seeing improvements. Not to the level that I want to see, of course, but improvements nonetheless.
There's a few improvements in terms of we're getting on the end of a few more crosses, and there's obviously Tel had a moment of individual brilliance. Same with Paulinho in the Bournemouth game, the Villa game second half, that was good, but it was only for 10 minutes. Palace was largely bad, apart from the last maybe 10 minutes when Palace were really going for it and we countered them a bit. Brentford, that was a pretty good performance, but again, both goals. The second one comes from Xavi winning the ball on the edge of on the halfway line and running the whole pitch and scoring. And the first one was a good goal. That's one of that first goal against Brentford is literally one of the few times he's literally put a move together and scored from open play.
Yeah,
it's one of the very few times. So there's minor improvements, not much really to go on. There are some more chances created, but again, most if you look at the chances, they are from set pieces or across in the box. That's mostly what it is, to be honest.
Yeah, not wrong, to be fair, not wrong. So a lot to work on for Thomas Frank. But look, the reality is we ain't sacking him. I don't think we're sacking him anytime soon. And I think they're going to let this play out this season and make a decision at the end of the year. So he's
that, lose on Saturday.
I still don't think they'll sack him if we lose on Saturday. That's the worrying thing. So, look, if we do lose on Saturday, then this season could spiral even worse than we ever thought, because lose on Saturday, are only what looks winnable on paper to the way we've been playing for the next month is Burnley.
Yeah.
Because we've got very hard fixtures coming up after the Burnley game. So, yeah, I really do. If we don't win on the weekend, then I don't know, man. I don't know where we go from there. I really don't.
We're in big trouble.
I think if we lose to West Ham, it's going to get so toxic. This club is going to it's already got toxic, but it's going to get overly toxic. And Conor Gallagher's going to be like, why the hell have I joined this club?
Yeah,
and Javi and the rest of them.
But I do think Gallagher's going to give us a boost tomorrow on Saturday, to be fair. But in terms of what he says, improving the culture, culture is getting a little bit stronger. I can see the small signs of culture in the training, very intense and focused, working very hard on the offensive. So what's he saying? What in the training hasn't been intense up until now? Is that what he's implying?
I don't know what he's implying by that, to be honest.
Is he saying the culture hasn't been good? Like it hasn't been intense? Is that what he's saying?
I really don't know what he means by that. Someone says in the comments he's just waffling.
Sounds like
it does sound
or is he
like
talking about me? I don't know.
No, he said Frank's a waffler.
Frank's a waffler. Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got to say something, don't you? How's training? Yeah, they're getting to grips with things, but I don't know. They seemed more intense earlier in the season than they do now. So I don't know.
Like I say, I think there have been moments of good intensity in the past, 4 or 5 games, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, but what's
it's
it led to?
Nowhere near enough.
What's it led to?
It's not led to much. Yeah, it's led to
No, I'm saying the moments we've been better going forward, what's happened? We've been worse defensively.
Yeah.
That's
but
my
even
point.
when we've been good defensively, we've still led to pretty much losses. Or
No, I understand
in
that.
those moments before that, it just makes the losses a bit more tolerable than the losses before that.
When we see a bit of offensive play, like the first 15 minutes against Bournemouth, we can see 2 goals. You know what I mean? So that's one my point being is the two are linked.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I completely agree with what you're saying. But we've got no way out of this, do we? They're not sacking him. So we just got like I keep saying, we just got to hope and pray this gets better because I don't think they're going to sack him.
Do you think we need a good performance as well on Saturday, don't we?
The thing is,
the win's a win.
The thing is, though, we have a good performance, and the narrative behind it from you, from everyone else, is just going to be it's against the worst West Ham team that we've seen in the last 10 years, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything, no building it. I've said that in other games. I said that we beat Copenhagen. I said great win, but I don't want to be sitting here in a month's time saying, "Oh yeah, we played great against Copenhagen a month ago." Mm-hmm. Same tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. So
we need
we still need it. Yeah, of course we need it, and we do need to sustain it. But we all know very well we could have a good performance against West Ham, a good performance against Burnley, and then it comes when it comes to crunch time in February, and it goes back to square one. Then it really wouldn't mean anything.
No, you're right. If we continue to play shit, I'm not going to look back and say we played brilliantly against 2 relegation sides.
And by the way, when I say you and everyone else, I put me included in that.
Yeah, I think that will be the narrative. But if we don't play well, the narrative is we couldn't even play well against West Ham. Yeah. That's a worse narrative.
What really is probably going to happen is that we don't play particularly well and we win the game. Mm. And then, me and you will be arguing the next day. You'll be like, but we were shit and we beat the worst West Ham team ever. And I'll be
Why are you arguing? Just agree.
And I'll be like, you know what? We won the game. Let's take the positives. Let's enjoy it. We beat West Ham. And then we're back to, then we'll in that revolving cycle again.
Yep. It's probably going to happen. What's he said about Gallagher? I think it's a top signing. I can't praise Fabio, Johan and V-Knight enough. The ownership for doing it and getting it done, getting it over the line. I think what he brings in terms of ability, first and foremost, is a very good player, good experience in the Premier League, La Liga. So the character, that leadership, that experience is still young, 25, plenty of development to reach, but coming in at a good level brings his pressing ability, directness, scoring goals, but also being able to find good positions on the pitch is exactly what we need. So Yeah, he doesn't mention his passing, does he? Which I guess is, confirming a lot of people's fears. But yeah, I think he's absolutely right. Those are the good things. Those are the things he is good at. So he's right to point that out. To be fair.
We've got a new member, Deptal Pratama. Welcome to the family, my friend.
Come on.
We've got a members chat member for 42 months. He hates me frisbee. Says Wharton could be huge. Realistic? Not sure. Couple of new Spurs. Right. And a couple of super chats here from Chameleon Eyes. Says, actually, just totaled my car, boys. Still less painful than watching Frank Ball. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, lads.
Not wrong.
The next one says, best midfield 3 without a question would be Decky, Maddison, and Balloon Biss. Flame me if you disagree, chat.
Decky, Maddison, Wolves. Did we ever see that midfield last year?
We must have done. Because we definitely saw Maddison and Decky together in the middle.
We did against Everton early in the season. We won 4-0. I remember Basuma scored and they both played. But I'm trying to think when we played United, we went through this period we were playing Decky and Maddison. Was it Basuma in the 6 or was it Bentancur? I can't remember. I think it might have been Bentancur mostly. But I think obviously it can work, but we know Basuma, which is very inconsistent. And those two together, I like those two together, but I think you need the right structure for it. Otherwise, it gets completely opened up.
Do you think we see Biss this weekend in the squad? Or
I think on the bench.
Yeah.
I don't know if he comes on or not. Maybe if we're desperate.
Another one from Chameleon Eye says, if West Ham beat us, we are 10 points above the drop in late January. Holy fucking shit.
I'm saying last season...
How are we here as a football club? I just don't get it, man.
Last season, with all the talk of relegation fight, we finished 13 points above them. So we were never really that close. And that was given the fact that we lost like our last, 7 games or something, whatever. I don't know if we were ever 10 points. I think maybe there was one point.
I think we were. We were 9, I think, at one point.
We were 9 at one point. The problem is we're 10 points going into that horrific run. And if West Ham pick up any sort of form...
Well, we've got 2 winnable games before that.
No, one of them would be a loss if it's 10 points. We're not 10 points now.
Right.
We're
13.
13. I'm saying if it is 10 points going into that horrific run, that is daunting.
Yeah, I don't think we will be. I think we win this weekend, and I think we beat Burnley as well.
It's only really daunting if West Ham pick up any form. You could probably rely on them not picking up, considering the 4 games they just didn't win, which I thought they were definitely going to win one of those at least. I thought 2, but they didn't.
I told you not to be worried about West Ham.
You're right. You're spot on. I was expecting at least, I was expecting 2 wins out of those 4 games. They didn't even win one of them. In fact, they lost 3 of the 4. In fact, the only game they didn't lose was their hardest one against Brighton, which surprised me. But that's just how it works. But you never know. Like, as they are also, you got to also say they are a team that hasn't been relegated since for 12 years, whatever. They are a big club. So as much as they are right now horrific and they're right now they're terrible. They have players in that squad who have been in the Premier League for many, many years and know what it takes to win games of football in this league. And we are expecting them to put up a fight, aren't we, to stay up at some point? Could it be next month? Who knows? They're under Nuno, they are getting some new signings. I'm not saying there's any evidence that he's turning things around yet. I'm just saying there's no guarantee they don't start picking up points at some point, is there?
No, not at all.
So you got to be careful.
With Paquetá leaving, though, that might be a signal of what things are like behind the scenes there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're probably right about that.
So, if Paquetá is literally like refusing to play and being like, I want to go back to Brazil, like that must be like, it must be so bad behind the scenes there. It really must be. And if it is that bad behind the scenes there, then I don't think anyone should give them a hope in hell and chance of staying up. That's the reality.
Yeah, true.
Another super chat from Soft says Frank has to lose 14 of the remaining 17 matches to match last season's loss total.
He ain't going to do that, I don't think.
Come on. So we've upgraded then.
Whoa. No European trophy. I didn't think about an upgrade.
Yeah, true. Upgrade in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying coming into this season, finishing mid-table will be an improvement
Not
on
everyone.
last year.
I wasn't saying that. I mean, it would be technically, but I wouldn't accept that as a good season.
Yeah, no, I agree. Looking back at our Prem predictions at the beginning of the season, we both said Spurs are going to finish in 5th.
God. Deluded.
The problem is, the reality is, right, if we were to go on a good run second half of the season, that is actually a possible place to still finish.
Well, you win the next 2 games. Where are we? Probably 8th. I don't know, depending.
Depending on other results.
What's the table? What's the highest we could jump if we win the next 2? Well, it's hard to look at it like this, but so right now we are 27. So 33 points puts you at 6th at the moment. Obviously, not everyone's going to lose.
Or 9th.
Yeah, you're probably 8th or 9th if you win the next 2 games. Although there's been a lot of draws this season, if you've noticed, a hell of a lot of draws between teams. So I mean, you win the next 2, and you do put yourself back in a good position. But then we've got this horrific run, which you just said. So after that run, hell, who knows where we're going to be?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's got to a point now where just every game looks a bit daunting, doesn't it? Like, I'm not even convinced. I'm saying we're going to get 6 points in the next 2 games, but I'm not even convinced of it. And we're playing West Ham at home and Burnley away.
Like,
that should really, but those 2 games should be a given 6 points.
Agreed.
It really should.
It should be. Like, in any season, in this context, we should be saying, yep, 3 points there, the next 3. I think we drop points in one of them. I think we win one, and I think we draw the other. I'm not sure which one's which.
We have to get 6 points, man.
I reckon it's going to be 4. I've got a feeling we beat West Ham. We might go to Burnley and get a draw.
Can't accept that. Can't accept that. I need 6 points.
Well, that's Frank Bulbo.
I need 6 points.
Then again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the West Ham game I should be more worried about because.
But like times in the past, like West Ham have come to us like literally down in the dumps in relegation battles, and they've played us off the park. Or maybe it's mainly when we go there. To be fair, but
at least if there's one team with more problems than us, it is West Ham. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so
but in a one-off game as well, they can produce.
On whether he's feeling the pressure, for me, I'm only focused on what I can affect. There's a lot of noise. I know that because I've been told, and I'm not stupid. Of course, I know we want more good results, but I'm also focusing on what I can see is actually working. We need to do more of that, and I know we need to focus on being calm, doing the right things, and keep carrying on. I'm glad you're carrying on.
Keep calm and carry on, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, at a couple of times he's made a self-referential reference to his own intelligence. Last week he said, I believe I've got above average intelligence. This week he's saying, I'm not stupid. I think it's always hard to analyse quotes sometimes without watching it and looking how he says it, the tone, the body language. Has he got a smile? Has he not got a smile when he says things? Sometimes you read a quote and then you imprint how you think he says it onto it, and it's always better to watch it, I feel. Yeah,
but I mean, managers come out with this kind of stuff all the time. What's the comment that Ange made about himself? He was like, "I'm not a." Can't remember the actual word he said. Yeah, he's not a clown.
That's because he was called a clown. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when managers are under pressure, and
I don't think there's any article calling Frank stupid, but.
No, but when managers are under pressure and they're being questioned, they come out and back themselves, don't they?
Of course, you'd have to. Not going to say, no, you're right, I'm rubbish.
Yeah. Another super chat here from Chameleon Eyes saying, if we get less than 4 points against West Ham and Burnley, I think we might genuinely go down, bro. This February run of games is going to kill the team morale. Or maybe it can make the team morale. You never know.
He says, go on.
Go.
He says, I'm focusing on what I can see is actually working. What is actually working? Set pieces? Don't we need to focus on what's not working to get that right?
I'm also focusing on what I can see is working. It is actually working.
And we need to do more of that.
What? Defend.
But that's what he's been saying, well, defensively we've improved. Those are the things he says. Set pieces defensively. He says that has been the big improvement from last season, whether you agree with it or not. I think fair to say there has been improvement there. So that's what he says is working. So is he saying that's what we should expect to see more of?
Thing is, right, I've just so checked out with trying to analyze and read into every single word managers have made, and this has come under everyone. It's just everyone, you don't know what he means by any of this. It's impossible to know, and we can all come up with our own ideas, and look, obviously we're going to talk about it because that's our job to do so, but it's just incredibly hard to know what he actually means.
I don't see it being that hard to understand.
So what does he mean?
He's going to focus on what we've been doing, defending and set pieces.
Yeah, but he's also said that we've been working very hard on the attacking style of play.
Yeah, I'm sure we have, because we have to start bloody attacking at some point. But we want to do...
But he can't mean that he's focusing on just defence. Obviously that's not the case, because he's been saying that we've been focused on attacking way.
Maybe he's saying more of what's working going forward, which is...
Exactly, maybe, so it's not obvious, is
crossing.
it? I don't know, man. It's just...
What has been working going forward? Not much.
No.
Oh, but we need to do more of it.
Yeah.
What do we think, chat? What does he mean? What does he mean? Maybe sometimes the chat has come up with some pearls of wisdom. What do you reckon, chat? What does he mean by that quote?
Sometimes it just doesn't matter what he means. It really doesn't matter. We just need to see things play out in front of our own eyes.
What's he said about Johnny Heitinga? Oh, no, it's not him. His agent. Johnny Heitinga's agent's been talking. John has listened to Tottenham's story and spoken to everyone who matters. He's become convinced and knows what he's getting into. No,
Come on,
you
Johnny.
do not.
Come on, Johnny.
You do not know what you're getting into, mate. You think so until you step in. I remember Conte and Mourinho both very clearly said, I didn't really realise the true extent of the issues until I stepped into this job. And now they know. Yeah, Johnny, I wouldn't be saying those kind of things. Because this is Tottenham Hotspur, we can surprise even the longest supporting fan can be surprised. Then even they don't know what they're getting into sometimes.
He knows exactly what he's coming into. He's joining a team on the up. All this change, we'll get there in the end, people. We'll get there in the end. I hope. I pray. Big up, Danny. Danny, I see you in the chat.
Players.
Winding up everyone in the comment section.
What's Delulu saying? Was he happy with Connor? Were you happy, Danny?
Yeah, he is.
Is he?
He is happy with Connor.
Haven't asked him.
All right. Well, look, I think that is it for today. Guess some bad news, some good news on the injury front. Players coming back, as naturally happens. Players go out injured when that does happen. New player this weekend as well to see Conor Gallagher. And tomorrow we're back for preview day, people, and maybe a bit later for Sousa announcement. Maybe that will come tomorrow, I don't know. But that is all from us today. I want to thank you all for joining us. We'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.